Hey, gorgeous. Yes, you. I know we've only just started, but I want to say something important right off the bat. You don't need to be anyone other than who you are to be attractive. But I also know that in today's world, where we're bombarded with filters, impossible beauty standards, and 5-second attention spans, it's easy to start believing that being sexually attractive means you have to look like a Victoria's Secret model, walk like you're on a runway, and seduce like you're in a Netflix series. Let me tell you right now, that's not what real sexual attraction is. It's not about trying harder. It's not about pleasing others. It's about unlocking something already inside you. It's about the way you speak, the way you move, the way you hold eye contact. Not to manipulate someone, but because you own your space. It's that quiet power, that calm certainty, that spark that says, I know who I am, and I don't need to perform for you to notice. So today I want to show you how to tap into that energy, whether you're dating, in a relationship, or just want to walk through life with that glow. This is about becoming magnetic from the inside out. Let's dive into the 5 key elements of real sexual attraction as a woman and how to start embodying them today. Let's talk about confidence. Not the loud kind that walks into a room demanding attention, but the quiet, grounded kind that walks in and doesn't need it. That kind of confidence, authentic, embodied, deeply rooted, is the foundation of sexual attraction. Because here's the truth, sexual energy doesn't come from having the perfect body. It comes from having a relationship with your body that is rooted in acceptance, not shame. You can meet someone who technically checks every box of physical beauty, but if they're uncomfortable in their own skin, the energy they give off is self-doubt, not magnetism. On the other hand, you can meet someone who doesn't fit society's mold and still feel pulled to them like a magnet. Why? Because they're comfortable being themselves. That's real power. Confidence is not about never having insecurities. You'll have them. It's about not letting those insecurities run the show. It's choosing to show up fully as you are, stretch marks, soft belly, unfiltered face, and saying, this is me, take it or leave it, and not in a defensive, I don't care what anyone thinks kind of way, but in a liberated way, in a way that says, I know who I am, I know what I bring, and I don't need to shrink myself for someone else's comfort. That level of self-trust radiates, people can feel it. And it's one of the most sexually attractive energies you can embody. There's also something incredibly sexy about a woman who doesn't need external validation to feel beautiful. Of course, we all like compliments, but when you depend on them, you start shaping your identity around what others find desirable. You start seeking permission to feel attractive, and that makes your energy not magnetic. But when you validate yourself, when you look in the mirror and choose to focus on what you love, when you walk into a room and hold your posture like you belong there, when you speak and trust your own voice, that's when everything changes. Because that's when people start leaning in and asking, what is it about her? Your confidence sets the tone for how others treat you. If you walk through life apologizing for taking up space, people will unconsciously agree with you. But when you walk through life grounded, knowing that you bring something valuable just by being you, people feel that. They respond to it. Sexual energy begins with ownership. Ownership of your body, your desires, your worth. You don't have to be the loudest woman in the room, the skinniest, or the most dressed up. You just have to be the woman who believes in herself. That's the secret sauce. That's what turns heads. Confidence isn't the icing on the cake. It's the whole damn recipe. You want to be sexually attractive? Start by being at home in your own body. Because when you're at home there, others want to come in too. Let's talk about playfulness, because if confidence is the foundation of sexual attraction, playfulness is the spark that lights the fire. There's something undeniably magnetic about a woman who doesn't take herself too seriously, a woman who can laugh mid-conversation, who teases with a glint in her eye, who knows how to create a moment that's just a little unpredictable. That energy, that's where sexual chemistry lives. We often think seduction has to be this dramatic, sultry performance, slow mashing hair flips and intense bedroom eyes. But honestly, the most seductive women aren't performing at all. They're just having fun. They flirt with life. They flirt with the moment. They bring a sense of lightness into the room. And that lightness is irresistible. Because here's the secret. Attraction isn't just about looks. It's about how someone makes you feel. If you make someone feel energized, excited, and fully alive in your presence, they're going to crave more of you. Playfulness also creates a beautiful kind of tension. It's that back and forth, that little push and pull where you're not quite sure what's coming next. It's the way you raise an eyebrow after saying something cheeky, the way you pause and let silence stretch for a moment longer than expected. It's the glance you give someone over your shoulder that leaves them wondering what you're thinking. These little things, they're not obvious, and that's why they're powerful. Because seduction lives in the space between words. It's not always about what you say, but how you say it. The smirk, the timing, the moment of shared laughter where your eyes meet and for half a second, the rest of the world disappears. But here's the important part. Playfulness is only powerful when it comes from a real place. You can't fake it. You can't manufacture charm. It comes from being present, from being connected to your own joy, from being willing to be spontaneous, even a little silly, and most importantly, from not fearing rejection. A woman who's playful is a woman who's free. She's not worried about how she's being perceived. She's enjoying herself. That's incredibly sexy, because when a man sees that you're not looking for his approval, but you're still giving him your attention in this playful, flirty way, it builds anticipation, it draws him in. He doesn't just see you, he feels you. And let's be honest, sexual attraction without playfulness gets heavy really fast. It starts feeling like pressure instead of pleasure. But when you bring that spark, that laughter, that sense of mischief, everything opens up. The energy flows. You both start enjoying the game instead of obsessing over the outcome. So if you want to turn heads and keep someone's interest burning, don't just ask yourself, do I look sexy? Ask yourself, am I bringing lightness to this moment? Because when you learn to flirt, not just with people, but with life itself, you become unforgettable. If sexual attraction is the spark, emotional connection is what turns that spark into fire. It's easy to mistake surface level flirting, witty banter, and physical touch for chemistry. But the truth is, the most unforgettable sexual connections aren't purely physical, they're emotional. And the gateway to that deeper, more magnetic kind of attraction is something many people overlook: emotional availability. Let me be clear. Emotional availability isn't about spilling your entire life story on a first date. It's not about crying on someone's shoulder the moment you meet. It's about being real. It's about showing up as a whole person, not a curated version of who you think you should be to impress someone. It's the courage to let your guard down just enough for someone to see you. Not the filtered you, not the perfectly polished you, but the real, textured human you. And that takes guts. But it's also what draws people in on a soul deep level. There's something profoundly attractive about a woman who's in touch with her own emotions and isn't afraid to express them. A woman who can say, that made me feel a little uncomfortable, or that moment really meant something to me. Or, I'm a little nervous right now, but I'm glad I'm here. Why? Because it creates intimacy. It tells the other person, I trust you enough to be real with you. That kind of vulnerability isn't weakness, it's magnetic strength. And it stands out in a world where most people are still hiding behind walls. The problem is, many of us have been hurt. So we protect ourselves. We get good at pretending we're unaffected. We say, I'm fine, when we're not. We smile when we want to scream. We perform instead of connect. But all of that blocks the very thing we crave, real connection. And without emotional connection, even the strongest sexual chemistry starts to fade. It becomes empty, unfulfilling, forgettable. But when you let someone feel who you really are, even in small ways, it creates a powerful sense of closeness. It makes them feel like they're not just attracted to your body, they're drawn to your being. That's the difference between she was hot and I can't stop thinking about her. Between a fling and a bond, emotional availability is the secret ingredient that transforms attraction into desire with depth. And here's the twist. When you're emotionally open, you give yourself a gift too. You stop performing. You start relaxing into who you are. And when you're relaxed, when you're connected to yourself, your energy becomes fluid, sensual, powerful. You're no longer worried about controlling the moment. You're simply in it. That's when the magic happens. So if you want to be sexually attractive in a way that actually lasts, don't just work on being desirable, work on being available. Because a woman who is emotionally open, self-aware, and unafraid to let someone see her, that woman, she doesn't just attract attention, she captures hearts. Let's talk about one of the most underrated qualities of sexual attraction. Boundaries. Now, I know that might not sound sexy at first. Boundaries can sound like walls, rules, restrictions. But here's the truth. A woman with boundaries is wildly magnetic. She's the kind of woman people can't help but respect, desire, and feel challenged by. Why? Because boundaries are proof that you know your worth. And nothing is more attractive than that. When you have boundaries, you don't say yes just to be liked. You don't tolerate behavior that makes you feel small. You don't keep giving energy to someone who only shows up when it's convenient for them. You choose how you engage. You decide who gets access to you. That kind of self-respect is rare. And when a man feels it from you, he doesn't see you as a woman he can have. He sees you as a woman he has to earn. Think about this. Attraction thrives on a little bit of challenge. Not in a game-playing, manipulative way, but in the sense that people value what they have to work for. When you give someone everything up front, your time, your attention, your body, your emotional labor, they may enjoy it, but they don't feel the need to rise to meet you. There's no sense of effort, no fire. But when you have boundaries, you create tension. You say, I'm interested in you, but I'm not here to entertain bad behavior. You show up with warmth, but also with standards. That balance is where real sexual energy is born. And boundaries aren't just about saying no. They're also about saying yes to what feels good for you. They're about honoring your pace, about recognizing when something doesn't feel aligned, and having the strength to walk away, even if there's chemistry. That kind of clarity isn't cold, it's irresistible, because it signals confidence. It tells the other person, I'm not here because I need you, I'm here because I want to be, and only if you're meeting me with the same level of care. What's amazing is that when you enforce boundaries with grace, not from a place of fear or anger, but from calm self-worth, you don't repel the right people, you actually attract better. Emotionally mature, grounded, high-value men love a woman with boundaries because it tells them she's selective. She's not handing out intimacy like free samples. She's intentional. And in a world full of superficial connections, that stands out. So yes, be kind, be open, be flirtatious, but also be the woman who knows where her line is and doesn't apologize for it. Because boundaries don't kill sexual energy, they intensify it. They say, if you want me, show up, be consistent, meet me with the same energy I'm bringing. And that's when attraction turns into pursuit. Let's talk about something a lot of women have been taught to suppress, misunderstand, or even feel ashamed of: feminine energy. We live in a world that often equates femininity with weakness or passivity. We're told to be cool, to not care too much, to hustle, to keep up. And while strength, independence, and ambition are all incredibly attractive traits, somewhere along the way, a lot of women have lost touch with the incredible power that lies in their feminine energy. Let me say this loud and clear. Feminine energy is not submissive. It's not about being small. It's not about dimming your light to make someone else comfortable. Feminine energy is about receptivity, presence, softness, intuition, and emotional expression. All things that, when harnessed with confidence, are unbelievably attractive because feminine energy creates space. It doesn't chase. It doesn't compete. It doesn't try to control. It allows. It draws in. It invites rather than demands. And in doing so, it creates a beautiful polarity with masculine energy, the kind of polarity that fuels attraction at the deepest level. But here's the key. Feminine energy isn't about playing a role or faking submission. It's about embodying a part of you that's deeply natural, a part that's often buried under layers of protection, performance, or hyper-independence. It's about leaning into your sensuality, your emotional wisdom, your ability to connect with someone not just through words but through energy. When a woman is in her feminine, she doesn't need to try to be sexy. She already is because she's in tune with herself. Her voice softens, her body relaxes, her energy becomes more magnetic. She becomes present, and presence is power. And no, this doesn't mean you need to give up control in your life, career, or relationships. It means learning when to lead and when to lean back. It's the difference between pushing and allowing, between proving and knowing. It's the woman who can command a room and receive love, who can hustle for her goals and surrender to the moment. That duality is incredibly compelling. There is nothing more attractive than a woman who owns her feminine power. Not in a performative way, but in an embodied way. She isn't trying to impress. She's not desperate to be chosen. She knows she's the prize, and she lets her energy do the work. And that energy, it's hypnotic. It doesn't scream, it whispers. And that whisper is unforgettable. So if you want to be sexually attractive, stop trying to do more. Instead, ask yourself, can I let go and just be? Can I soften without losing strength? Can I receive without guilt? Can I trust that being fully in my feminine is not only enough, it's magnetic? Because once you do, you stop chasing chemistry and start creating it just by walking into the room. So here's the truth I want you to take away today. Being sexually attractive as a woman isn't about changing who you are or fitting into some impossible mold. It's about unlocking and owning the parts of yourself that already exist. Your confidence, your playfulness, your emotional honesty, your boundaries, and your feminine energy. These are your superpowers. And when you start living from that place, you don't just turn heads. You command attention, respect, and desire without even trying. But it starts with a choice, a decision to stop dimming your light, to stop apologizing for taking up space, and to start walking through the world knowing you are enough. Not someday, not when you lose those extra pounds or find the perfect outfit, but right now, exactly as you are. So here's my challenge to you. From today, practice one thing that makes you feel more confident in your own skin. It could be a small act of kindness to yourself, a moment of playful laughter, setting a clear boundary, or simply leaning into your feminine energy and allowing yourself to be more fully. Notice how it changes your energy. Notice how people respond. And remember, attraction isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's about showing up fully, vulnerably, and unapologetically. If you want to dive deeper into this journey, if you want tools, guidance, and support to truly embody your sexual power, then don't wait. Take the next step for you. Because the world needs your light, your fire, and your unique magic. Own it, celebrate it, live it. Because the most attractive thing you can be is yourself.